I'm Mark Seifter.
And I'm Linda Zeiss Palmer.
And this is Arcane Mark. Welcome to Build a Monster Workshop on Arcane Mark. So today, as with every other day that we do a Build a Monster Workshop,
or pretty much any workshop, we start with a concept.
We will start with a concept. There's a very few times that you don't want to start with a concept when you're creating something, and this is not one of those times.
So if you are watching us on Twitch, please start proposing concepts in the chat so we can have a vote and decide what we're going to be making a monster about.
That's right. And if you want, you can also vote for an episode for 2 weeks from now in the chat as well. That's fine. Make it clear what you're voting for, because we will have votes for concepts once the concepts come in. So put in any monster concept and you might get that monster created here on the Build a Monster Workshop.
We've done a variety of monsters on here in the past. They tend to skew toward more complicated monsters with like all sorts of abilities and like weird stuff going on with them.
That's right. If we ever make excuse me. If we ever make like a compilation of them to like put out as a file for like the Arcane Mark Workshop monsters, it's gonna be some pretty complex monsters. So, alright, looks like people are mainly in favor of mega dungeons in 2 weeks. But does anyone have a monster concept for our monster workshop? And while you go at it, I will load up, because we're going to look at certain features after we calculate the monster's concept.
Such as the level, which is an important part of pulling together the concept as well.
Of the monster is part of the concept. That's correct. So, but usually we want to know what the concept is first, and then we have people vote.
Well, that's why I said like the level's one of the early things we do after we have the types, so that we can kind of bring it together. We have
an animated butchering axe that possessed a warrior. That could even be a PC with Battlezoo Ancestry's intelligent weapons. But alright, so we'll do animated butchering axe that possessed a warrior.
So if this being a monster, like, is the idea then that the monster is always like the pairing of the animated axe and the warrior?
Maybe.
Or that the monster is the possessing axe and then like they find different warriors or things like that.
I think if we did that butchering axe, like that, even though the rules say you shouldn't put extra damage dice on creatures because players will feel that it's more unfair than flat damage if it has more dice than them, it should have just an extra D12 for no reason, just like the original butchering axe weapon from PS1 had an extra damage die.
We have a carnivorous dire penguin. Awesome.
Yes, we do. And we also have a monster that can produce more monsters. So, monster that makes more monsters.
And we have some kind of forgotten foe of dragons that extra hates Lux Eterna dragons.
Forgotten foe of dragons.
All cool ideas.
Extra hates Eternals to keep making monsters for Rico's Dragon KM. So that is 4 ideas that we have so far. If anyone else has any other ideas, you can put that in there. And otherwise, we can vote for these 4 by putting a 1, 2, 3, or 4.
I like how you're just it's in the vote. So like
Golem Mount.
Golem Mount.
Golem Mount is now getting a thing, and so you can vote for 1 through 5, including Golem Mount, even though it's not with the others in the chat log. You're
so
still
votes now
to.
Are for this poll. They are not for the poll.
They're not for the poll for the next episode. So put in a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 in chat, depending on which thing that you want to see us build today on Build a Monster Workshop. Alright, So Rico wants us to build the dragon-hating monster for
for
his Kingmaker.
Rico's Dragon Kingmaker.
Then
we have 2 votes for the penguin, and 1 vote for the golem mount so far.
That's right.
No, wait. Yeah.
Yes, that's right. That's right. 1 for the golem mount, 2 for the penguin, and 1 for the anti-dragon that hates eternal dragons. Okay. So...
the penguin is winning so far.
The penguin is winning so far, but like some of the people who gave suggestions.
Oh, we have another vote for. Okay, now the dragon foe and the penguin are tied.
Okay, so it's a tie between the dragon foe and the penguin. So therefore, an evil penguin that is a forgotten foe of dragons, it has now revealed itself.
So it's carnivorous dire penguin that hates dragons.
It's a carnivorous dire penguin, but it's intelligent.
Yes.
It hates dragons since ancient times, and it's only... these carnivorous dire penguins have only gotten angrier about the fact that dragons have the Lux Eterna ritual, because for whatever reason they hate dragons.
Oh, wait, there's a comment there, the pain of being flightless. Maybe they feel mocked by the dragons who make themselves temporarily flightless.
Yes. Or maybe it's that they go after eternal dragons while they can't fly, because it's like, this is our best chance.
Our best chance to get them, yes.
Yes, that's right.
And the eternal dragons, like, also are taking these shortcuts to power and can become menaces far quicker, whereas, like, other dragons, you can, like, watch their path of growth and try to deal with
Maybe these carnivorous dire penguins also, like, they may... Well, I'm not actually sure. They might not be intelligent. Maybe they just, like... their magic is anathematic to the magic of dragons, and when an eternal dragon pulls all their magic through their body...
Let's do a vote. Are they like animal intelligence dire penguins that instinctively...
through their entire lifespan, it causes the penguins to go hone after them.
Yeah.
So, let's vote for whether or not these... Let's first vote for what level these penguins
level
are.
first, you're right.
So level are these anti-dragon penguins? Just type any level in chat between -1 and 25.
First vote is 8.
That's from Rico, who knows what level he needs them to be for his Kingmaker. Because if we pick -1, it'll be too low level for
well, -1 also kind of doesn't make
why
sense
are they
for
the
the
foes
theme.
of
Why
dragons?
are they to be a foe of dragons, you need to like at least be able to deal with a small dragon.
You would probably be somewhere around the 8 or 9 that people are putting in for your baseline one, and then you might have stronger versions like the Elder Penguin or something like that.
The Penguin Emperor.
The Penguin Emperor.
Yes.
That's right. Of course, the Penguin Emperor is a variant that's higher level.
Yes.
Magic Emperor Penguin.
Magic Emperor Penguin.
Alright, so we have 8, 9, and 12 as potential levels for this penguin. Does anyone else have any level thoughts for this penguin that dislikes dragons? Biggest problem as level go up is dragons being able to just fly away. Well, it's also possible that the penguin has the ability to, like, do one of those belly slides, but, like, through the air.
Yeah. So we have 8, 9, 12, and 14.
And then another 8.
Okay,
so that's going to be 51 over 5. So that's going to be 10. A level that nobody picked is the average of these levels. So we're going to do level 10 for these penguins. And actually, maybe we should do 9 since that's at least the level that somebody picked.
That somebody picked,
and it's closest to that. Because there's 2 8s and a 9, and then there's a 12.
Let's do
9 is also the median.
Yeah, let's do 9, and then we can say that like the Emperor one is
the Emperor one is 14.
Okay, so like how smart? Let's go back to like how smart are these guys, because it's gonna make a big difference.
Well, that's where we would normally go next anyway.
Yeah.
Is like the size and ability modifiers and alignment. But let's do the ability modifiers first, because that can modify alignment. So, are these literally animalistic intelligence, but they just instinctively, the magic of these penguins is so anathematic to dragon magic that they go after dragons, and Lux Eterna pulls all your magic through and short-circuit it, so it goes after them? Or are these like an intelligent carnivorous dire penguins that hate dragons? So that's the main question we should ask first. we'll be able to figure out how high which ability scores are a little bit later, but I think we want to know their intelligence.
Yeah, because that's going to determine a lot about the kind of powers they have.
Basically, is it going to be -4 or -5?
Mm-hmm.
Like an animal, probably -4. Is it going to be -3, like or 2, like a beast that's like just slightly
like has some
smart
like
enough
beast
to
from magical
understand
infusion,
language?
or is it like a
or is
really
it going to
smart...
be like anywhere above that, like more like a humanoid or even smarter than humanoids, so that they can like compete with dragon intelligence? So
we have our first vote for magical beast intelligence. So like
somewhere in the -3 or -2
or -2
range. First
yeah.
vote. Any other votes for how smart these guys are going to be between like animal and like the above animal but like significantly lower than humanoid, and then the last one is just around a humanoid -1 through +1, or super genius penguins.
Yes.
Those are, I think, are the 4 ranges we're looking for, to see what people think. So, Raxalquid is the one who came up with penguin idea and was thinking magical beast intelligence. And Rico likes the idea that they are like pretty unintelligent, but just like they can't be reasoned with because of their magical, instinctive hatred. That's almost like ingrained into them.
So that could
let's be like -3.
Let's be
I
-3.
think a purple worm is -3.
Yeah, and then they can still have that instinct in it, that instinctual ingrained thing, but like be at that point smart enough to like.
That's right. So we're gonna do -3 for intelligence.
So that means that they can have some slightly more complicated tactics or abilities than an animal might, but they're not gonna go out into like schemes with illusions or that kind of stuff.
Alright, I'm gonna put Carnivorous Draconophobic Penguin on here.
And we are level 9.
And we know that our int is -3. Okay, so what size are these carnivorous, dire, draconic-phobic penguins?
So the word dire to me implies that they have to be
bigger
larger than a typical
an emperor
penguin.
The biggest possible penguin in real life. I think that's the biggest penguin in real life. So an emperor penguin is roughly size small. The biggest ones maybe are approaching the bottom of medium. So these things gotta be medium at least.
Yes.
How big do you think this penguin would be?
We have 2 votes for large that came in really fast.
2 votes for large. So I think large makes sense to me. And then the penguin emperor could be bigger.
And another vote for large. Okay, yeah. So we can do large for this one. The same size as an adult dragon that it can hunt, said someone about the large also. So yeah.
I think large.
So we are large.
So we are a large dragon, or not dragon, penguin, and then they...
Don't you dare call them a dragon.
That's correct.
That might incite the two.
The penguin emperor is probably huge.
Yes.
Which means only like the biggest of dragons are, like the ancient dragons are bigger than the penguin emperor. So alignment
isn't necessary in the new system, but we can still put it in for like
remastered
flavor.
Creatures won't have an alignment, but we don't have the remastered building rules, which are probably the same but without an alignment, so we're just gonna give it an alignment just to think about it. And this is more also kind of, we're thinking about their like, are they evil or are they just neutral, and just like within them they just have this feeling that's so intensely negative from the dragons, and they just instinctively have a primal gnaw they need to kill the dragons. Now, if this was in the world of Battlezoo Alucard, then it would probably be because these penguins were actually the children of a penguin kaiju. The reason for that is that in Alucard, the dragon deity Talir ate all of the kaiju and created dragons from the power of doing that. And these giant kaiju were destroying the entire world, more or less. And these 2 interloping deities on vacation who decided to stay here in this world, like, created a dragon child of their own to go eat the kaiju. And so this would probably be the remnants of, like, a penguin kaiju that just knows that dragons are based on, like ancestrally hunted them down and destroyed their progenitor or something like that. So in that case, they might not even be evil. Rico says, okay, what? That sounds awesome. Yes, that is... If you have World of Battle Zoo Indigo Isles, there's a whole religion section that talks about this. But that is part of the world history, ancient history of the world of Alucard, is when the dragon deity ate all the kaiju. The problem is that mortals were not very grateful for this, and they feared the dragon after that, and so it led to some issues. Rico hasn't dug into the religions because Goldarian. That makes sense. So yeah, that's all in the religion section of that. So the question is, are we going to be neutral-ish? Are we going to be like evil and malicious? Are we going to be like... We're probably not good.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if you were good, you would have to like try to hold down on your urges to destroy all dragons. Mm-hmm. Unless you like believed that dragons were utter evil,
or you were like something. Only hunting like the evil dragons.
Yeah, but I don't think
that doesn't fit here. Yeah,
that.
So I think they're neutral or evil.
I think so
in that regard. And then like from the law chaos perspective, like
I think they may just be neutral because they're -3.
Yeah.
Because it's not like they are following orders or something like that, or going random.
Looks like we have 2 votes for neutral here too, yeah. So let's go with neutral.
And they just instinctively know.
So we know they're neutral, and their traits we have neutral, large. Yeah, we also know they're a beast.
Large, beast. Okay, do they have any other traits other than beast?
Are they like, yeah, they're probably then not, are they supernaturally infused with cold to a ridiculous degree to the point where they have the cold trait? Because if they are, that's going to imply like some more cold powers or cold magic or things like that.
It could be good for hunting red dragons, although they're also weak to them, but it could also cause problems with hunting ice dragons. Like, they obviously are penguins, so they lived in a cold environment. They probably are, if we're talking about Alucard, were descended from like some kind of giant cold penguin kaiju from the Arctic. So it could make sense for them to have some magical infusion. But maybe it would be more interesting if our event, the Arcade Mark Workshop Scroll God is canon in Rico's Goldarian.
Awesome.
That's cool. Maybe it actually has a little bit more of a subtle connection to an element other than cold.
There's a question, do winter wolves have the cold trait?
I'm not sure, but frost giants do, I believe. If you have a complete supernatural connection to cold... Yeah, frost giants do.
What about winter wolves?
What's about winter wolf? I think they do. That's going to be my guess. They... Do not.
Okay.
So, you never know. You never know. Dragons do. So, also, another thing is that maybe these penguins are related to time. Here's why. Like, if you think about, like, cold as a force that, like, slows molecules down, and you can think of absolute zero as also, like, stopping time. But the Lux Eterno ritual involves time magic, which pulls the dragon's power through time. So, it's possible that that's part of why these penguins hate them. And that way, time is not something that certain dragons are immune to.
Yeah.
And certain dragons are not.
Another thing with time, too, is that might also help explain, like, why do they hold this ancient grudge so strongly, that their ties to time make that reverberate. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that.
I think that's possible.
All right, yeah. Do other people like time penguins?
Let's vote for,
I guess time penguin, cold penguin.
Cold penguin.
Time penguin.
Time penguin.
Or none.
And, so, both...
Or neither, yeah.
Because they could be cold and time.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
Cold penguin, time penguin, both, or neither. You can type in just cold, time, both, or neither, or 1, 2, 3, or 4.
We have one vote for a time penguin.
And, I think that's a reasonably compelling answer, but...
One vote for both, and one vote for neither.
Just penguins. They don't need to have magical effects. They are just vicious penguins that will attack people with their penguinness.
That's true. Alright, I mean, this is pretty spread out.
This is very spread out. The one thing we know is there was not a vote for only being cold.
Yes. So it's not only cold. Oh, no, it might be.
Now there is! Now it's completely spread out.
Okay.
1 for cold, 1 for time, 1 for both, 1 for neither.
Okay, does
Rico
anyone
was
else
typing
have an
as we were
opinion?
saying
Or are
it.
we gonna, like, roll a d4 or something?
Yeah, like, there's enough people who are watching that there must be someone who is, who has another opinion about cold time, both or neither. Like, this is a major direction
Yeah.
where we're going to be, moving this penguin. Alright, Rex, so liquid swaps to time. So, okay, Enrico says you need to have some cold powers to be a penguin in the temperate regions. Alright, so we now have 2 for time, so we're going to do a penguin with some mild time abilities, this time penguin. And that we're going to flavor the time powers around the idea of, like, representing cold stuff, but via temporal magic. So I'm going to give the time trait to this carnivorous diadrichanophobic penguin. Alright, so let's take a look at our other ability modifier. So we are level 9. That means that our extreme is 7.
This penguin probably isn't extreme.
Our high, if it's birthed from kaiju, it maybe is.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
It might be extreme in something. Like, you would think about with time being connected to constitution.
Yeah,
maybe
extreme con. Yeah,
and that could also be how it survives.
Yeah,
against
and
dragons.
that because extreme con also doesn't, like, imply, like, ridiculous.
So, my question to everyone in chat is, do you think this penguin should have an extreme ability score or not? Type in the ability score abbreviation or the full one if you like typing full ability scores, or none, to see what you think a penguin should have in terms of its extreme ability score. Now, most monsters don't have an extreme ability score unless they are, like, very huge at a low level or something like that. But in this case, I think if they're born from ancient kaiju, these penguins might actually have con or strength. Obviously, we know it's not intelligence, which is -3.
And if they did have con, then they could be, like, maybe their AC isn't necessarily as great, but they have a lot of hit points.
Or dexterity, because they go through time and they're just moving everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
that
very
works too.
different takes on the creature. Also, we can pick none. So, just to make it easier for people so they can just type a number, I guess I can put in... I'm not going to put wisdom or charisma because I think it's obvious that we're not going to do that. This is extreme. Alright, so Rex says extreme con. And you can also vote 1, 2, 3, or 4 if you want. I've just written them, so you only have to put a number to make it easier. For extreme strength, dexterity, constitution, or none.
Have another vote for extreme con.
It looks like my statements about extreme con have convinced people, or at least 2 people. So we're gonna do extreme con. Oh wait, there's also a vote for extreme dex. Oh, now it's getting interesting. Suddenly, Rico's gonna come in with strength. Anyway, let's see. So that's gonna be... I'm gonna put con for now. We can come back to this.
Yeah, that would then imply that maybe it's con... Oh, gotta save against that dragon breath.
Ha, gotta save against...
Yeah.
Some dragons, I guess, have con as their breath, but...
So, maybe
it has good strength and dex. Maybe it's high in strength and dexterity.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to outperform dragons.
And then their other mentals
Their mentals are probably not the greatest.
Not the greatest, yeah.
So, because we know that we're like a large, dire carnivorous penguin, so we've got to have some strength here. But let's put our other mentals as lower. So we've got 4 is moderate and 3 is low. So let's make both of them 3.
And things can also be below low.
And Rico says it can also get a status bonus against dragon breath. That is also true.
Oh, wisdom comes with time.
Wisdom does come with time. Maybe give it moderate wisdom.
And then, like, 0 charisma or something.
Yeah, 0. Below low, but not quite as terrible as its intelligence on charisma. It's just not a very charismatic creature.
Because I don't see this as being, like, a charisma skill focused.
Wisdom only comes with time if you have the capacity to learn, says Rico. That's true, but, like...
If it's talking about its innate instincts as well, too.
Like, if we compare to a purple worm, those guys have a penalty on wisdom.
But they have -5
also have -5. Oh, they are an animal after all.
Yeah, they're an animal. Okay.
Who's a beast with -3? Is an owlbear a beast or is it an animal? I think it's an animal. Yes, it is. What's a good example of a beast that has -3 instead of an animal? Is a frog hemoth, or they may be an aberration? They're an aberration.
What about what's in house murder? Manticores?
A frog hemoth has +6 though. Oh, manticores are pretty smart.
I think they're smarter than that, but yeah.
If a frog hemoth could have +6, I think we're gonna be okay. Alright, so that'll give us our ability modifiers. Let's move into some of these other scores. So, perception. These penguins probably have a, let's see. I would say they either have a moderate or high perception, probably, because of the fact that they have to hunt dragons, and some dragons are exceptionally good at stealth. Now, that may partially be because they have senses that will help them, that'll help them sense dragons.
Do they have dark vision? Or low light vision?
Well,
because a regular
penguins see well at night. I do not know the answer to this. Apparently, most researchers assume penguins have poor nighttime vision because of the fact that they stayed out of the water after dusk, but they have no trouble seeing in the dark. They see better than humans in the dark, and they can see thousands of feet in the dark depths of the ocean. Some penguins see ultraviolet light. So it seems like actually maybe they can see, maybe penguins have dark vision, like regular penguins, or at least the ones that can see ultraviolet light. So if some regular penguins
then
have
these
dark
guys
vision,
probably do.
I think these guys could have dark vision. I also think
do they have some special sense to help them detect dragons?
Yes, I think that they have a probably something like atavistic sense. And atavistic sense basically senses
is it an
dragons.
Imprecise sense for dragons, probably?
Yes, or maybe it senses like dragons and temporal like sort of temporal disturbances. Imprecise. But if it's dragon and a temporal disturbance, such as eternal dragons, it's precise.
What's the range on that?
Probably like 60 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's precise against dragons that are themselves a temporal disturbance. And then we'll give it perception. Let's vote, and I'll put low and extreme on there because why not? So, I think it's probably high or medium, though. Or moderate. And then low. I guess I'll put terrible, but is it really going to be terrible? Vote for extreme, high, moderate, low, or terrible perception.
While people are voting for that, let's take a look at what our next
thing after perception will be languages, which with -3, it probably has 1.
Probably draconic, honestly.
Yes, so that it could hate dragons in their own language.
Maybe it understands
but doesn't speak.
Yeah,
yes.
draconic. So, yeah. Just stands and hates but does not speak.
Yes.
And then, we can go ahead and put in a skills line because we will need skills.
We will need skills.
Let's see what folks think about the perception.
All right, so it looks like we've got 3 for moderate and 1 for high.
Yeah. All right. Well, 3 for moderate has it.
All right. So those good at hiding dragons will just get away, and that's fine. We've only got 4 wisdom, so it's not like it's not like it's incredibly easy to pull out the high modifier from that, because we'd have to have essentially
so 18 then.
We'd have to have essentially better than master proficiency here, and with 18 we have roughly expert-esque with another +1. So that's going to be perception
plus 18.
18.
So then,
maybe plus 19, because then we have master proficiency, and it's not exactly moderate or high, but one person voted for high and everyone else voted for moderate, so we can put in between.
So one thing to consider then as we get into skills is perception the primary thing that they roll for initiative, or do they stealth?
Because they do have higher
dexterity than their wisdom.
So let's look at the skills that we can give. So, like, obviously, we're probably not going to have, like, a lot of the int-based skills. But we may actually have dragon lore.
Yeah.
Weirdly enough. So, we've got some possibilities here.
I can also see survival being a good choice for them. Surviving in harsh terrains.
Yep. I could see acrobatics for, like, balancing on ice. I could see stealth for sneaking around.
Mm-hmm.
I could obviously see athletics because we're a big, giant penguin. And I doubt that they really have much of anything other than that.
What do folks think in chat?
I'm going to put in some things in chat. So vote for all
of the ones that you want them to have.
That you want them to have of these lists that I'm putting in.
We had
stealth
and survival.
I think that was the ones that we had.
Yeah.
So vote for all of the numbers of things that you want them to have, and then you can write in if you have something else that you want them to have.
Mm-hmm.
And we will see which ones make it and which ones don't make
these dire carnivorous draconophobic penguins.
Yes. Oh, right. Monster creation was in the GM core, so we actually do have access to that. So it looks like the only change was that they removed alignment, and that's it.
So we have a vote for 4, 1, 3, 5, 1, 2, 5. So 1 and 5 have 2 votes so far.
1 and 5 are the ones that are... Dragon Lore and Survival are the ones that are making it so far, whereas we don't... We don't have any of the other ones that have a critical mass in terms of these penguins.
Mm-hmm.
However, I'm going to mulligan and say that they should at least have one of athletics or acrobatics, because it kind of makes sense that they would, and they don't seem like a creature that should be bad at, like, escaping out of things.
Yeah. But we'll see if we give it a little longer to see if someone else votes, and then if not, we can.
Yep.
Determine.
Belly slide charge attack, says Amandering Mage, with the acrobatics.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, the penguin ice penguin
we vote for 1, 2, 5. Okay, so that skews us toward athletics.
That's true. Yeah, the ice penguin Eldabon has a belly slide ability too. It's Pengil. Raxel would say we can give it an ice walk or ability to skip the acrobatics. I think that's fair. So let's go with 1, 2, 5. So we're gonna do Dragon Lore, Dragon Lore, Athletics, and Survival.
Pierre's like, I don't want to pick one skill to include everyone else, like, skip.
Yep. So we're gonna do Dragon Lore, and we're gonna make the Dragon Lore as high as we reasonably can, given that it has -3. So I'm gonna make it like 14, which is in the middle of the low category. I think that's getting to the limits. Maybe make it 16, the highest of the low category. Yes. That's very high considering how low their intelligence is, because
it's instinctive knowledge that's transmitted to them through time.
Yes, it's flowing like time. Then they also have athletics, and they've got a +6 strength, so I would say that they are going to be at least +17, which is above low. And given that athletics was one that given that they have 6 in that ability
You
score,
can give
let's
them
give them a
19.
20.
Yeah, or 20. Yeah.
And then the last one is survival. That's one that they have 4 in, so let's give them the moderate of plus 18.
Right, survival there too instead of just the bonus.
Well, they could just have the bonus if they want. They'll figure it out.
So we do have that Ice Walker idea. Let's put that
let's
down
put that
too.
in like speed.
Speed.
So we'll call it Ice Trail, and let's give them a speed of hold on.
They'd have regular speed, and then they'd have
hold on.
swim speed. Yeah.
Yes, they would. But let's take a look at a red dragon just for the moment. An adult red dragon.
How fast are they?
Has a fly speed of
like ridiculous.
150 feet. So I feel like if a adult red dragon has a fly speed of 150 feet, that these penguins need to have the ability to go at least almost that fast.
Mm-hmm.
So here's my pitch, and my pitch is a speed is 60 feet, with a swim speed of 60 feet.
Mm-hmm. And then we've got our belly slide.
Yes, and then they're gonna have Ice Trail and belly slide. So here's my pitch. Belly slide is if they go in a straight line, then they go twice as far. And then Ice Trail is that they do not have to balance on ice. And not only that, but they freeze time underneath themselves when they move, which allows them to belly slide as if they were on ice on any terrain, including in midair.
Oh,
because they've actually frozen time underneath them, so they don't fall.
So they're going upwards at 120 toward the dragon, and the dragon is flying at 150. So the dragon is still faster than them.
The dragon is faster than them, but if it stops
to
cast a spell or use a breath weapon, then the penguin can catch up.
The penguin's gonna find them, and then. But so I guess then, do they need to continue? So if they're sliding through the air, do they need to continue spending at least one action to belly slide each round, or they fall?
That's a good question. I would say that they would probably need to continue making their time trail out of ice.
Mm-hmm.
Or let's call it Trail of Frozen Time.
Yeah.
So belly slide is
can move to
is a 1 action.
Move up to twice your speed in a straight line.
Yes, move up to twice your speed in a straight line.
And this is a move.
Also, in chat, tell me what you think about this plan for them being able to catch up to dragons. I didn't want to give them a morbidly high speed off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I should give them 80 instead of 60, because then they would be... There are other dragons that are faster than red dragons.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like morbidly high speed does kind of make sense given that they're time penguins.
That's true. Also, 80 isn't that bad. It's pretty bad. But it's not that bad. So we could have belly slide move up to twice your speed in a straight line. And then Trail of Frozen Time is ignore difficult terrain and uneven ground from ice and snow.
Mm-hmm.
Freeze time underneath self while moving, allowing belly slide on all environments,
including the air.
So basically we can just belly slide up into the air by freezing time beneath us. We're faster in a straight line than a red dragon. The red dragon can easily outpace us by going around corners so that we can't belly slide in a straight line. We're slower than, like, I think cloud dragons or whatever the ones that are faster are. Even with belly slide. And we just hate dragons a lot.
Just imagine you're like an eternal dragon and you can't fly, and just like suddenly this penguin comes charging in at 80-foot speed. It's like, rah!
I'm also gonna give it sudden belly slide, where it
it's like sudden charge but belly
twice,
slide.
And then
belly slide twice and then
strike. If the strike is against a dragon, gain a +1 circumstance bonus.
Yes.
All
As
right.
Rexus said, smart dragons know how to zag.
That's correct.
All right, so this handles the sort of the sudden charge aspect of it, and their speed, and making sure that they belly slide, and making sure that they move clearly on ice.
Let's go back to another vote, shall we?
I think that covers everything that folks suggested in chat.
Let's do armor class.
So I was mentioning before that I was thinking that since their con is so high, maybe their armor class isn't tippy top, so that they can have extra hit points.
That makes sense. Actually, let's try to figure out what roadmap roughly these guys are. So, let's vote for roadmap.
So I do note that their movement speed is so high that striker or skirmisher or whatever that one was might be potentially
vote for
fitting.
brute, soldier, skirmisher, or some weird thing. Yeah, the thing about skirmisher is that it does have very, very, very high movement speed, but also its stuff is towards moving toward you, whereas skirmishers often like to kite.
Oh, yeah, that's true. These guys are not as good. I mean, they could
mostly
move away.
only have that movement speed because they want to catch
close in
you.
the first place, yeah.
But
so I could see them not being a skirmisher, too. Like, if they were a brute and they were like, we're just going to smack you with raw strength.
They may be some kind of hybrid of brute and skirmisher due to their high con and like bigness.
The skirmishers are usually more like I am super the dex, and
they're
maybe
usually
they're a
like
little more fragile.
I can phase out of reality, or I'll fly away from you, or I'll spring in, attack you, and then move away. Which technically you could belly slide away. And Rex Liquid also says weird hybrid and
vote for 3 in a comment that some kind of weird hybrid worked too. Maybe we just do some kind of weird hybrid then.
Yeah, we'll make our own roadmap with blackjack.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Another 3-bit hybrid makes sense. Okay,
All right, so we're gonna do some kind of a brute skirmisher hybrid. So just to remind ourselves, brutes generally have low perception, but skirmishers tend to not care. Our perception is medium, so it's a little bit higher. Brutes tend to have high or even extreme strength modifier,
and we have
where
high.
Skirmishers have a high dex modifier, so we did do that. Brutes tend to have high to moderate con modifier, which we do. And therefore, they have high fortitude, but bad reflex and will. Skirmishers have high reflex, but bad fortitude. So it seems to me like we might have all of our saves be kind of down the middle, except be a little bit weaker at will. So a little above the middle in the other ones, and with a bonus against breath weapons.
Yes.
And we do have our weirder speed than typical for Skirmisher. And then we'll still have the high HP with lower AC with moderate or low. And attack bonus only either high attack and high damage,
so maybe the idea is like they are still dexy.
So
the fact that their AC is a bit lower, like from that is mentioned in the brute one too, is more like because they're just really squishy.
Yep.
So if you actually make contact.
So let's see, how low can we go?
How low?
The lowest we can possibly go is 27.
For moderate, yeah.
Which is, that turns out to be exactly moderate, but we're quite lucky.
Because I see.
We could not have gone below 27.
Oh, yeah,
that's what 9 plus 6 plus 2 plus 10 is. So we're not going to get that many extra hit points, but that's fine. So we've got AC 27. We've got hit points, which are going to be, actually, saving throws first.
Yeah.
So, I think that, I see. Our own roadmap with black dragons and plot hooks. You know what? Forget the roadmap. There you go. That's better than blackjack for the roadmap. So, normally we would have like 21, 18, and 15, but it seems like by smushing these roadmaps together, we can keep the 15 on will, but we can kind of average out and get somewhere pretty high for the
so let's go ahead and put those in. So we have our will.
Let's do will.
Is 15 work for the number that we have of wisdom?
Yes, it would be trained.
Yes. Okay. Plus 15, not plus 5.
So yes, what would the lowest fortitude that we can possibly have with an extreme?
So we have
extreme 18 would be the lowest we
possible.
could have.
So,
obviously, we don't need it to be the lowest that it can possibly be.
But it would go into extreme if it was 22, so maybe 20?
So we could have Fortitude plus 20, and then plus 19 on reflex.
Yeah. With a bonus against breath weapons from dragons.
And then, yes, so that's going to be a plus 2 status to all versus dragon breath and dragon innate spells.
Yes. Sounds good. Because then it's not just reflex, it's everything.
But if dragon can learn to cast spells, then it doesn't affect those.
Yes, but the innate spells. So Fortitude saves against the innate spells of dragons do tip slightly into the extreme range. That's fine, I think, because it's like a very specialized thing.
Yes, and it's not even all the way to
not
extreme.
All the way.
It's halfway between high and
the two.
extreme.
So what does that mean for their...
Oh, TC Moonpie wants to know what this creature is. So, in ancient times in the world of Alucard, kaiju roamed the world and just kind of ate everybody. 2 vacationing deities from another dimension had a child which was a giant dragon that they told to eat the kaiju, and it did. One of these kaiju was a kaiju representing time, specifically like freezing time as like cold brings things to absolute zero. There was a gigantic penguin that rampaged across the tundra. Now, when the dragon deity ate this penguin, it created like a new, probably like white dragons or one of the ice dragon types of dragons after this. But the last spawn of that kaiju survived. And these penguins, throughout the ages, have an ancestral memory. They have an atavistic memory from their progenitor to hate dragons, especially dragons that mess around with time, such as dragons who are PC dragons who use the Lux Aeterna ritual. And these penguins are the creatures we're making.
They are carnivorous dire, draconophobic penguins.
That's correct. So, now we're going into hit points.
And they do not like you. They do not mess around.
We have chosen that we're going to have a moderate AC, so we can have a little bit more hit points.
Yeah, we can.
We can have like 25 more, so maybe we have like 180.
Yeah.
Not quite high because we didn't go that low on our hit points, and we're decently skirmishy. Like, if we wanted to, we could sudden belly slide up and then run regular belly slide away, and that is pretty annoying.
Yes, it is.
So I think
we can,
180 hit points.
Sounds good to me.
That's our, maybe, let's make it 175.
There you go.
I just convinced myself, because yes, against dragons, they're natural prey. There's one thing with PCs are a lot slower than, like...
They are real annoying skirmishers against dragon.
And I feel like the turn of sudden belly slide forward and then regular belly slide away is pretty obnoxious.
It is.
I think I convinced myself to move to 170.
Down, yeah. I think when you're fighting these guys, you really don't want to be fighting them in open terrain. You want to fight them in a position where you can put some cover between you so they can't do their sudden belly slide nonsense.
Yes, that's true. You don't want to give them a straight line. But here's the thing. Even if you're a normal PC and they move 80 feet, that's really fun.
They're really annoying, yeah. These guys are like quick jacks.
Actually, I've convinced myself again. I'm just going to put them back to moderate, and they just lose the AC, and they don't get anything.
Because their defenses are...
They are a combo between Brute and Skirmisher.
I had wanted to give them more hit points because of the ridiculous constitution, but maybe...
They do have really high constitution.
But their movement, with their AC just can't go lower because of their dexterity. So
I think that they burned out that high constitution to survive even in tropical climates as a penguin, and they don't have enough left to get extra hit points.
Yeah, okay.
So basically, like, their base hit points are low.
Yes.
And so, even though, yes, they have +7, which would add 63 of these, are just
they still
directly
benefit
from
by
that.
having better in fortitude.
Unlike Brutes, which may have, like, 10 or 12 as their base per level amount, we don't. We have more like 8.
Yeah.
Well, okay. maybe somewhere between 8 and 10.
Yeah, this
so I think that's what we've got.
All right. So what do we get next after the hit points?
After our hit points, we're going to move on to immunities, weaknesses, and resistances. So
are we resistant to cold?
I think we probably are resistant to cold. And we are probably resistant to time.
Yeah.
I think we're not resistant to dragon damage.
No, because we already have the...
We've developed a saving throw bonus against dragons because we hate them. But we were also initially killed by dragons.
Yeah.
We're built by something that's killed by dragon. I don't think our body is instinctively resistant to them.
Sounds good.
So that's my thought. Maybe...
do folks have other thoughts on resistances? Do cold and time sound good? Or are there other ones people want?
I think... here's a thought.
Now we have to consider a weakness, if we don't want to take down our hit points more. Oh!
So, here's a thought. Vote on how much of this you approve. So, I am putting a potential resistance and weakness slide. So, approve is 1, and disapprove is 2, and then you can explain why if you want. So time.
So I do think
Rico, time would be a trait that they are that they would be weak to, and also the GM's discretion. Certain time things that don't have the time trait should, but like sick temporas, I think have the time trait. Like cast into time should obviously get the time trait.
Or like spells that talk about time as a part of
the ones that are like this rapidly ages you, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, sick temporas. If you have a weakness to something that's not a damage type, then or a resistance, you just resist it. Plus, that'll help you against time Eldamon.
That's true. So we have 2 approves on this. I think that one thing to consider on this is that dragon jaws are not going to be like super common, and time damage not super common either. So those I think kind of wash out, and then you get the point, or roughly. But then cold damage is more common, so we'll need to dock some hit points for that.
I mean, potentially, I would say we already docked it. So, and cold, while it's more common, is not like a physical type. So, plus it looks like a penguin. Yeah. So, like you're probably
you're right.
Not
we did already just dock. We did just dock for other stuff.
We docked it because we thought it had very high movement speed. Yeah. And I think that part of that can be that also.
That sounds good to me.
Also, dragon, since it literally hunts dragons, I think that the weakness to dragon jaws is actually a pretty substantial weakness. So basically, they've learned to become resistant to their breath, but unfortunately...
their bite is still...
Since their ancestor was eaten by a dragon...
Yes!
Then they were descended from that. They are easier to be eaten by dragons. So it's only dragon jaws. It's not dragon's other attacks.
I can certainly imagine lots of dragons being like, oh, they're delicious.
Yeah, they taste so good. That probably is true.
Yeah.
In their lore, they probably taste really good to dragons, and dragons like hunting them too. So, like dragons, they're like, we hate dragons. They're like, dragons, like, we don't hate them. We like these guys. We want to make sure there's plenty of them so we can eat them. They're so tasty.
Put that in the flavor text.
Yes, flavor text.
Well done.
Taste really good to dragons. They hate dragons ancestrally because they are descendants of a kaiju eaten by Talir, and they taste really good to dragons. Alright.
There's a comment, maybe they don't need that much speed if dragons want to eat them.
They also want to hunt down dragons. They just hate them. Dragons like to eat them, though. It's a vicious cycle.
Yes.
Alright, so let's talk about our strikes. So we have a couple choices. We can either be... high for a brute, or we can be moderate and extreme. But I'm going to put another proposal, which is we also could have something that's slightly lower than that, like maybe moderate and not quite extreme for damage, just because we have such a high movement speed. On the other hand, we are hunting down things that have even higher movement speeds than that. And dragons don't...
But against PCs
a level 9 dragon has a 150-foot fly speed. It does not have that consideration for you.
Oh, Moonpies, do they have a way to deal with dragon flight? Is that why they can suddenly slide in before they take off? Yes, they can solidify air by freezing time and then launch themselves like a belly sliding torpedo.
They basically stop time below them, which stops gravity when they're belly sliding, and so therefore they can belly slide through the air. Yep, that's one of their abilities. It's one of their only abilities right now, other than their ability to sense temporal disturbances and dragons, and then temporal disturbance dragons. Theirs are precise.
Okay, so
let's see. What do people think in terms of strike roadmaps. So we can do so for strikes, high. We have moderate, extreme, and then moderate, less than extreme.
Where it's like high plus.
Yeah, where it's like high plus.
Mm-hmm.
So I think given the dragons at this can be the same level and have a 150-foot fly, and this 160-foot is very situational in a straight line, that
for the dragons, but then what if they're fighting PCs?
No, but I'm just saying the PCs might have to fight the dragon.
Yeah.
And the dragon can kite you with a breath weapon.
That's true.
These guys at least have to come up to you.
Yeah.
And bite you. They may not have reach.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm saying that given that dragons can have that much speed, maybe, and we've already docked them hit points.
That's true. So maybe we don't need to dock more. So.
We could do moderate, extreme, or we could do high with the idea of like they need to be able to hit dragons, and dragons can have a decently good AC.
I feel like if we were gonna go into moderate, less than extreme, I might consider something that was more like moderate, high, but agile type stuff or whatever.
Also, we could also do high, moderate, agile, because that is how agile will work.
That's how it usually works.
I'm not so sure that these guys are going to make 1,000,000 attacks.
I don't think so either. Because they're with their mobility, they're probably going to want to be moving, like charge in and attack and charge over and attack and that kind of thing. So yeah,
makes sense.
I think 1 or 2 would probably be
that makes sense.
My favorite here, but I don't really have an opinion between the two.
Maybe high. Nobody's voted at all. I'm gonna say high. Maybe there
was a vote for high.
Maybe their beak is like an ice pick.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's like fatal.
Oh, yeah.
And then you'd want high for that.
Fatal beak.
With a fatal beak. So actually it wouldn't be high because our high would be like prorated for being
fatal, but yeah.
So let's see. It would say that high is 2d10 plus 13, which is 24, but we'll make it more like the moderate and then with fatal.
Because it has fatal, yeah.
Yes. So that's going to be
2d8
like 2d6 plus 13, probably.
Yeah, to get the 13.
Although, actually,
what's their strength? Their strength is 6, yeah?
Yeah, so let's do 2d6 plus 12.
Yeah.
So, strike is beak, plus whatever, what is the attack bonus for
high
for
attack
high
is 21.
Okay, so beak plus 21, fatal, D10.
Yes.
No, wait a minute. Fatal D12, because we were supposed to be D10.
We were supposed to be D10 normally, yeah. So fatal D12, right, of course.
And then we will be, so normally it goes up by 2, and you only go down by 1 die size. So actually, maybe that's just what we should do, is be D8 that is fatal D12s.
Yeah.
So, alright, and especially since we're adding only a plus 12. So, we're going to be 2d8. Oh, wait, no, I see. We should add a plus 10, then, because that also fits better with our accuracy, because our accuracy is more like expert.
Yeah.
2d8 plus 10
6 straight.
with fatal d12.
Alright, and a beak is presumably going to be piercing,
like an ice pick.
Yes.
Okay, so
they can also use that to pick through ice when they need to, I'm sure.
I'm sure they can. So, do we need any more special abilities on this creature? Or are we at a good place?
So
it's a level 9 creature. Right now it has Atavistic Sense, it has Trail of Frozen Time, Belly Slide, Sudden Belly Slide, and it's
so the first thing that I'm thinking
jaws.
here is should they have a ranged attack?
They may have reach because they're kind of stand up straight.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, should they have some kind of ranged ability? That's a good question.
Yeah,
also, should they have any time magic?
Yeah, if they do have a ranged ability, I figure it doesn't reach as far as like their ability to slide into things, so it's more like a backup for if they can't slide into position.
Yep.
Although they have so much movement that then maybe they don't need it because they can just be like, oh, I'm just going to come in and attack you.
They
like
usually
things need ranged attacks, especially at this level. But the movement on these guys are like they're their own range.
And they can belly slide into the air. So
yeah,
it's not like,
I think maybe they.
It's not like much is going to kite them.
So then I guess the question is, do they have some kind of a time magic type thing? So they don't. So as far as time magic goes, like if they have the ability to slow and mire other people, like their movement is already pretty excessive.
So maybe they can like, because their idea is the concept of time slowing down with cold to absolute zero. So maybe the idea is that they can like on a critical hit you get slowed, in addition to it being fatal.
Yeah, because then you're not seeing it like all of the time, but you're seeing it sometimes. Like.
Plus, we'll call it frozen time, because they have a trail of frozen time. And their ability is frozen time. So frozen time on a critical hit with their beak strike, the penguin, or a creature critically
hit
by the penguin's beak strike is slowed 1 for 1 round.
Yes. And we want the word creature in there as well.
That's right. Actually, let me see. Galugan have something similar to this. I know, because I was doing Battle Zoo Ancestries Devils. I was looking over Jessica's turnover on that.
Level.
They are slightly higher level. They are level 13.
But their slowing frost is
1d4 rounds.
1d4 rounds,
and it adds a frost rune. It does give them a saving throw. So maybe we should add a saving throw, because slowed is very annoying.
Slowed is very annoying.
And make it 1d4 rounds.
Yeah, so then the saving throw then can be,
unless they succeed at
a...
Hold on. What are dragons the worst at? What are red dragons the worst at? Red dragons are the worst at reflex. So as a reflex, they have to try to move dodge out of the way as time gets slowed around them.
Strange time, yes.
And this has
DC,
already had to be on a crit, so we can probably use the high DC of 28. So a DC 28 reflex save. Or have the time frozen around them. Alright. So they've got that, and Monitoring Mage says they might have like a time trap,
a temporal snare. Yes.
Alright, so let's give them a temporal snare and then call it good.
Sounds good. So the temporal snare then...
I'm gonna grab Sudden Belly Slide
and move it down,
and Belly Slide, move them down because...
They are not...
Or no, actually, they're in about the right place. Hit points
Trail of Frozen Time, Sudden Belly Slide
Hit points and AC are just too low because they're below speed.
Yes.
That's the issue. Alright, so,
and then you lost a thing with your attack moved onto the same line as Belly Slide. Boop.
Oh, a Sudden Belly Slide, I see. So, let's do a temporal snare.
So is this something that they also project out with reflex to try to immobilize creatures until they escape?
Yes. It's exactly trying to immobilize something. And if it's flying, it falls.
Yes. That's part of how they deal with flight, too.
Yes.
So what's the range on this guy? So I guess the temporal snare in that case is kind of like their ranged attack.
Yes. But it's probably like damage. It's a 2 actions.
So I'm thinking about if you look at like the Goliath, it wasn't the Goliath spider. There's some spiders that have these kinds of abilities that are ranged, immobilized until they escape type things.
Let's see a Goliath spider.
The Goliath pulls you in. It was the other spiders that was it the hunting.
Goliath has web tether. It prevents them from moving further away anytime they're hit by the web.
Was it this hunting spider then? There's one of the spider types had
It does prevent them from moving further away.
Yeah, no, one of the spider types had an immobilizing one. Was it the hunting spider then?
The hunting spider, I think, is just a basic spider. It does have a web trap. It's stuck until it escapes if it's hit by the web, yes. And the bigger spider, Goliath, has a 60-foot range increment. But this is a magic, so maybe instead of a 60-foot range increment, it just has a 120-foot...
Range?
Overall, yeah. Overall. Around a creature within 120 feet.
Yes. And a lot of those other ones were 1 action rather than 2, so we can consider what that means for
maybe we should give it...
The potency
The other ones were 1 action, so maybe we should give it a really long range. And the idea is they can try to freeze the dragon in place
from a very long range and then come in. Yeah.
If the dragon's trying to kite them.
So
because it's not like they can actually hurt the dragon unless they go up to it.
Unless they go up to it.
Also for a PC, these penguins, unless they're found together with something that has ranged attacks, can't exploit this against you.
Yeah. So maybe it's probably multiple dragon moves.
Feet.
So yeah, 400 feet.
That's multiple dragon moves.
Yeah. So then what does it take to escape this thing? Can it be escaped using normal escape? Or is it like escaped using a saving throw?
That's a good question. So, let's see. The penguin makes a ranged attack roll at a plus 21 bonus against the lower of the target's AC and reflex DC.
Yeah.
It is 2 actions.
Yes.
On a success, with the following effects, and then critical success, the target is immobilized and restrained.
Yes.
Or is restrained for 1 round and immobilized until it escapes. And immobilized
until it capital E escapes. And what's our DC for the escape on this guy?
Probably an escape a DC of 31 because the attack bonus was plus 21.
Makes sense.
And success is just the target is immobilized until it escapes against
DC of 31 without the restraint.
And failure is the temporal snare doesn't quite land. The target
reduce move speeds
the target
for a round.
Speeds are halved. Or maybe it's a penalty. The target takes a minus 20-foot circumstance penalty to their speeds for 1 round or until they escape.
Because if they really want it.
A DC of 31, whichever comes first. Let's do halved. That's actually less problematic for PCs,
but more problematic for giant dragons. Yeah.
Targets speeds are halved.
Yes.
More powerful against the 150-foot dragons, and then critical failure is the snare fails entirely.
Does it accelerate the target, or does it backlash and harm the?
And the temporal wake grants the target a plus 10-foot status bonus to speeds for 1 round.
Legit?
Alright. So there we go. We now have this penguin.
Alright. So, thanks everybody on Twitch. We always come up with these ridiculous concepts on here. I definitely wasn't expecting, dragon hunting penguins to be what came out of all of this.
Neither are Rico's players.
There we go.
Remember, there's a 14th level penguin emperor.
Yes.
Penguin emperors 14th level lead these penguins. I'll add that into the lore.
Yes, they do.
Alright. So, awesome. Alright, everybody. Let's say goodbye to YouTube and then do our outro. Bye, YouTube. See you next time.
Bye.